Top of the morning, everyone. My name is Tshidi and I'm back with a very interesting topic. I think this is probably one of the most requested videos I've actually had to work on. And the question is changing careers. I'm interested in changing careers. I'm interested in moving into HR. And how do you do something like this? And this is basically the top few things that you need to worry about when it comes to moving into HR, or some of the things that you need to do before anything else. Changing jobs and changing careers is not easy. That's where I'll start. And in the 16 years of my career, for example, I've actually met different candidates, some of them already changing careers, some of them in the process of changing careers through education, some of them doing so many different things. So it's not an easy thing to do when it comes to deciding that you actually want to change your career. So I want to just start that by making sure that everybody understands that the moment you decide to actually say, I'm going to change your career, that's not always an easy. And then there are a few things to always consider before you do that. Now, there are some, for example, some of the common reasons why people change careers, and they are as follows. For example, number one, stress reduction. You know, that current role is too stressful and they're looking at something that's a bit more different to what they're looking for. Like there's some doctors that have actually become YouTubers. They've left their, they've studied 7-8 years to become a doctor, only for them to decide, okay, you know what, that's not my thing. I don't want to do it anymore. And then they change their careers into something completely different. So those are some of the reasons why people change. The second reason that I've picked up is a bit of flexibility. For example, the older people get, you'll find that some of the people start saying, you know what, I want a different lifestyle. I want to do something very different. And sometimes the roles that they're doing are not flexible enough to allow them to do their passion careers, or to do their passion projects, or some of the things that they get excited about. And that's one of the reasons why people will then change jobs. So that's a very, very important reason that people would actually do that. The third reason that I've known people to actually change careers has been salary increases, where they're like, you know what, my current job, yes, I can go into being the executive, whatever, at the highest level possible, but salary wise, it'll always be limiting. So I'm actually looking at something very different that will give me the financial means to be able to say, listen, I'm in control and I've got the money that I'm looking for. Or the fourth one could be opportunity for advancement, where some of the people feel like, within the role that they're at, there is a ceiling that's there. There's a glass ceiling that will stop you from ever going above that. So that's one of the reasons why I want to change the job. And then the last one could be feeling of appreciation, where somebody's like, you know what, I'm not appreciated in my job, or I'm doing a very thankless job. So I actually want to do something very, very different. So those are, for me, the 5 reasons that I've actually seen people changing careers. If you do know of any other reasons that some of the people might be looking at changing careers, please do share those. But what I'm going to try and do is to actually take you through a foolproof process of how best you can actually do this journey. And as I mentioned in my first sentence, is doing this is not an easy thing. It's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. So be willing and be prepared to actually do all this work. So what are some of the things that we're looking at? I've got 10 or 9 different bullet points that I put here that say, this is how you do it. This is how you make sure that you change careers. And I hope that some of you guys will actually look at them and start implementing some of these in your current career changes. Number 1, take your personal inventory. So the personal inventory is extremely important because it tells you a lot about what you're working on. It tells you a lot about what you're building. It tells you a lot about whether the things or the new career that you're looking at is actually going to meet your expectations. So write these things down. What is it about my job that I do not like? What is it about the other job that I think I'm going to find that is in the same space that I was actually at? Don't just sit there and just say, I want to change careers and then that's it. Write these things down, because writing them down is actually will help you sometimes to realize that it might not necessarily be the job itself, but it might be the environment that you're actually working in, or the people that you're working with, or just the company that you're working with. So instead of just changing jobs or changing careers, then you're able to just change the jobs for a period of time. So that's very, very important that you actually answer that for yourself. And with your personal inventory, you then start looking at the skills that you currently have, the values, the interests that actually stand up for you to say, okay, cool, these are the things that I'm actually worried about. Now it's time to actually change careers. And if you're able to look at all the things that you've already highlighted to say, the skills. I'm not learning anything new. Is it the people? Is it the company? Is it the environment? Is it this? And it's none of those things. Then definitely a change of career is actually a very good idea. The second thing is you need to also decide if you want to change industries or you actually just changing just the career. Because for example, some of the people say, I've been in the real estate industry for the last 20 years. I actually want to change into financial services and go do something different. I want to be a private banker, or I want to do a financial advisor, or whatever it is. So make sure that you decide on whether you just not only just changing jobs or changing careers, you're also changing industries, because sometimes you're interested, or the industry that you're interested in has the job that you're looking for, whereas the role that you're already performing or the industry that you're in does not have that particular role. Then it actually warrants you to actually start saying, I need to actually change careers. But always remember that it is very important that whenever you're doing these checks for change, consider those kinds of changes to see how difficult is it going to be in the new industry and how easy is it going to be in the new industry. Those are the things that you need to think about every time you do these changes of industry or change of careers. The third thing is research the potential job searches. Now, I've had people where they've come to me and say, listen, I want you to be my mentor, or I want you to help me actually when it comes to a job change or a career change. And what's very difficult about that is when you ask them to say, okay, what area are you looking at? You'll find that a lot of people haven't even thought beyond the role that they were in. They want you to give them the answer as to the area that they should actually get it. That is very difficult, and any mentor or any career coach that comes to you and says, I think you should do this job, in most cases they're very misguiding you. Your job change or your career change, because it's a huge step, you've built so many years in this particular space and you want to change, it needs to come from you. That's why the first thing that we say is take personal inventory and do as much research as you can. So research potential job searches. Sometimes find out what is it that's going to get exciting about this new area that you're actually looking at. What is similar in your current role versus what you're actually looking at in the future role? You know, what are some of the skills that you can interchange in the two roles? How can you play around with the different areas? That is beautiful to actually do that research, because when you actually now start going for the interviews, you already have done enough research to build on that. So it's very, very important that you do quite a lot of research. That's the third thing that you need to worry about. The fourth thing that you need to also think about when it comes to changing careers is you should be willing to start from the bottom. Now, some people say, I want to change careers. Fantastic. Now, what you've been doing versus what you're looking at are completely different things. You want to become a wealth manager. You've been doing something very, very different that actually requires you to build your career on wealth management. Maybe you might want to start as a private banker, grow into a financial advisor and into a wealth manager. So you need to be willing to start from the bottom, and don't ever feel like you starting from the bottom is failure. It is not failure. You need to be deliberate about that change. So be willing to always start from the bottom. You should always expect that you can't always go to the same level that you were at, because it's completely different changes of careers. So there's a difference in changing a career versus actually changing just the role. Changing the role is easy. You can go and expect the same type of thing to say, yeah, no, I expect to get the same salary, the same thing, same this, but be willing to actually start from the bottom. And that's one of the things that I always say to people is that the moment you say, I'm willing to change careers, be willing to start from the bottom. If you're not willing, don't think about actually changing careers, because in most cases, most companies won't give you that opportunity. The fifth thing that you need to always think about when it comes to changing careers is you need to also job shadow. Because some careers are fantastic from the outside. I mean, if you look in from the inside and you're looking at people that are doing that job, you look at it and you're like, ooh, I'd love to do that job. Now, those are the parts of the job that you actually see, or that they allow you to actually see. Sometimes, if it allows in the company that you're working for, do job shadowing. Go spend time looking at what those people do on a daily basis. What is it that they do in the morning? Sit down with some of these guys and say to them, hey, listen, you're doing this job. What are some of the things that you like about the job? What are some of the things that you don't like about the job? Because if you do that, it equips you with enough knowledge and enough information to be prepared for that career change. But if you don't do that, Unfortunately, what happens is that you end up trying to apply for these jobs, and then 6 years later, you're still applying for different jobs and you're still not getting them. And you're like, but guys, I've been trying to get into the space for such a long time. Nobody's giving me a chance. Do the job shadows, because also job shadows sometimes allows the line manager of that particular business or that business unit to see your interest in that particular role. So be willing to do those job changes or those job shadows, because they are very, very important. The sixth thing that you need to worry about is rebrand yourself and rebrand yourself completely. Now, for example, resumes that we normally have, like my resume, for example, is tailored specifically for talent acquisition. If I decide that I want to be a pharmacist, I need to rebrand myself completely. Or if I decide that I want to actually become a developer, I need to now go join GitHub and make sure that I share some of my work there so that there's peer reviews from some of the development that I've actually done there. I need to now start doing small little courses to make sure that I get to understand some of these things that these guys are doing. You need to completely rebrand yourself so that even in the interview, when somebody asks you to say, you've been doing 10 years of this, but now all of a sudden you want to become a developer, what's changed? What is it that you've learned about this job that we're doing? You need to be able to say, listen, I'm still new into the space, but if you go check out my GitHub, or you go check this, or you go check that, you'll see some of the work that I've actually done. My interest for this is not temporarily, it's something that I actually do in my spare time. So those are some of the things that you need to actually do. You need to make sure that you rebrand every single thing about you. Your social media needs to rebrand that. And people need to see the passion in that particular area, because it's not just one of those things where I'm finishing university and I'm going into that space. I'm changing completely from talent acquisition to becoming a developer. I need to make sure that even in my day-to-day and how I do things, it actually highlights those things. So it is very, very important that you do that for yourself. The seventh thing that you need to do is sometimes study further. Some changes of career require you to actually have a degree. Like I might be an HR person now, and if I want to become a doctor, I will need to go and study medicine. So I don't expect for me to now start applying for jobs as a doctor with no qualification. So sometimes it requires you to study a specific degree. And then things like IT, for example, or any other fields, sometimes small courses, diplomas, all these things will actually help you with that. So you need to be willing to study further to get yourself up to speed. Things like, if you look at LinkedIn Learning, if you look at Udemy, if you look at Skillshare, those are some of the ways in which you can actually learn some of these new skills. So be willing to literally put in the time. Don't just say, I want to become this, and you don't even put in any of the time, because people will look at you and say, you're not ready to actually move into this particular area because you don't even know what we do. So put in the time that you're actually required to do. The eighth, which is almost the last one, is try to change in your current company. The biggest mistake that people make is to try and say, I'm going to look for a new job, but I'm going to go look for it in company X. Your current company knows who you are. They know what you're capable of. They know what you're able to deliver. They are more likely to give you a shot compared to somebody else that doesn't know you and that doesn't know your work ethic. So if you can, I always advise to say, unless if, for example, the company that you're working in doesn't have any of the skills that you're looking at or any of the areas that you're looking at, then definitely going to look for that new skill in another company is very, very required. But in this instance, if they do have it, if they do have that field, try and change your career in your current company. Do not try and change your career in a new company. Try and change it in the company that you are in. It is a lot easier and it's a lot faster to actually be able to do that. And the more doors you keep on knocking, most people are actually likely to finally say, you know what, we hear you and we know that you're actually interested in this. The final thing, guys, which is the final or the ninth way in which you can actually change your career, is please don't give up. It is very difficult. Finding jobs is hard enough. Changing careers is even harder. So do not give up. Don't keep trying it for the first 6 months and you're like, you know what? I'm not going to get it, so I'm just going to give up. Don't give up. You need to keep trying. You need to keep trying and learning. Every rejection that you actually get is a chance for you to actually learn. So please don't hold back. Just have these conversations. Keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. And what's even more important, which is the 10th thing that we can actually look at, is network within the same industry of the new job that you're actually looking at. Start finding mentors in that particular space. Network in the area that you're interested in actually changing your career in. Reach out to some of these guys and say to them, hey, listen, guys, I've been trying to change jobs. I've been trying to get into your space. What do you do? On a basic, what do you do daily? What is that one thing that you do every day? Hear from them, because if you don't, what then happens is you then end up going to these interviews when you're not ready. So those are, for me, the top 10 things that you need to worry about. Number 1, take personal inventory. 2, decide on whether you're only changing careers or just jobs or industries. 3, research the potential job matches. 4, you should be willing to start from the bottom. 5, try job shadow as many times as possible. 6, rebrand yourself. It is the best thing that you can ever do for yourself. Please don't ever hold back on trying to rebrand yourself. 7, study further if you have to study further, especially in the new area that you're looking at. 8, try change within the company that you're working for. 9, don't give up. And 10, connect with people in the same industry that you're looking at. Top of the morning once again. So please do share some of the comments that you might have, questions that you might have, and looking forward to hearing from you. Don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to click the like button, because once you like it, YouTube knows that you guys like the kind of content I'm sharing. Looking forward to working with you guys. All the best.